There is one type of person you should never tolerate in your life, not from friends, not from strangers, and not even from family, and that is the constant victim. You know exactly the kind of person I'm talking about. The one who refuses to take responsibility for their own choices. The one who blames everyone else for the life they live. The one who sees themselves as powerless but expects you to carry the weight of their world on your back. These people have a way of making you feel like you owe them something, like it's your job to fix their problems, and when you don't, they make you feel guilty for living your own life. They will drain you emotionally, mentally, and physically, not because they can't do better, but because they won't do better. And the most dangerous part of having a constant victim in your life is that their mindset is contagious. Spend too much time around them, and you start to internalize their hopelessness. You start to feel like you too are powerless. You start to lower your own standards without even realizing it. The constant victim lives in a cycle of excuses. Every problem they face has someone else to blame. They didn't get the job because the system is unfair, not because they never prepared. Their relationship failed because their partner was cruel, not because they refused to grow. Their health is declining because life isn't fair, not because they won't make different choices. They are professional excuse makers, and their talent is convincing you to step in and take responsibility for their failures. They'll lean on you for support, for money, for time, for endless hours of listening to their complaints. But here's the truth. Nothing you do will ever be enough, because they are committed to being the victim. And as long as they see themselves that way, they will never step into their own power. And if you're not careful, you'll become their crutch, enabling their cycle instead of breaking it. This kind of person thrives on your empathy. They know you're a good-hearted human who doesn't like to see people suffer, so they exploit it. They will tell you sad stories. They will bring up every past wound. They will exaggerate every pain to make you feel responsible for helping them. And when you finally do help, they'll thank you for a moment, only to return next week with another crisis. Because they don't want solutions, they want sympathy. They don't want accountability, they want attention. And once you start giving it to them, it becomes a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour in, it will never fill. When you are around someone who constantly plays the victim, pay attention to how you feel afterwards. Do you feel uplifted, inspired, or hopeful? Or do you feel drained, exhausted, and guilty? That feeling is the evidence of what they are doing to you. They pull from your energy like a parasite. They thrive when you're pulled down into their drama. And sometimes, they're not even aware of it consciously. It's simply the only way they know how to live. But whether they mean to or not doesn't change the effect it has on you. It robs you of energy you could be investing in your own goals, in your own growth, in people who actually want to rise with you. The hardest part is when the constant victim is family, because we are conditioned to believe we must tolerate it. That loyalty to family means sacrificing our own well-being. But you cannot let blood become the chain that drags you down. Family or not, anyone who keeps you in a cycle of guilt, exhaustion, and helplessness does not deserve a front row seat in your life. You can love them, but you must also set boundaries. You can care, but you must also protect yourself. Because if you don't, you'll wake up one day realizing you've spent years carrying someone who never even tried to walk on their own. The constant victim is an expert at deflection. The moment you try to confront them with the truth, they will twist it. You tell them they need to take responsibility, and they say you're being harsh. You tell them you can't keep solving their problems, and they accuse you of abandoning them. You tell them you need space, and they make you feel like you're selfish. And if you don't have a strong sense of self, if you don't stand firm in your boundaries, you will get pulled into their manipulations. This is why emotional strength is everything. Because when you know who you are, no one can guilt trip you into being less. Think about what happens to your life when you allow these people constant access. Your goals slow down because their problems take priority. Your peace disappears because their chaos becomes your focus. Your energy fades because every interaction leaves you drained. And all the while they remain the same, never changing, never growing, never once looking in the mirror and saying, maybe I'm the problem. That's why you have to make the tough choice. The choice to stop tolerating it. The choice to say no without guilt. The choice to refuse to carry what isn't yours. The choice to protect your energy like it is your most valuable resource, because it is. And the moment you start doing this, the moment you stop tolerating the constant victim, you'll feel a shift. You'll reclaim your time, your peace, your power. And maybe, just maybe, that's what will finally force them to look in the mirror and realize the role they've been playing all along. The manipulator is another type of person you should never tolerate, not in friendships, not in business, not even in your own family. This is the person who never shows you their true face, the one who hides their real intentions behind charm, kindness, or even fake humility. They pretend to care about you, but in reality, every move they make is calculated, every word is strategic, and every interaction is designed to serve their own benefit. Manipulators are not always loud. They're not always obvious. Sometimes they're subtle, smooth, and patient. They study you, they learn your weaknesses, they listen for your fears, they figure out exactly what you need to hear, and then they use that information to control you. They don't want you to notice what they're doing, because the power of manipulation is in making you feel like everything is your own choice, when in truth you are just a puppet in their hands. The manipulator is skilled at wearing masks. Around one group, they appear generous and kind, but around another, they are ruthless and cunning. They know exactly how to adapt themselves to get what they want. This makes them dangerous because you never really know who they are. You may think you're dealing with a friend, but in reality, you're standing next to someone who sees you as a resource, a tool, or a stepping stone. They might smile in your face and congratulate you, but behind your back they are plotting, gathering information, and waiting for the right moment to use it against you. And the cruelest part about manipulators is that they make you doubt yourself. They twist reality so subtly that you start questioning your own judgment, wondering if you're the one overreacting, wondering if you're being unfair, when in fact they are the ones pulling the strings the entire time. They use tactics that are psychological. They know how to guilt you into compliance. They know how to flatter you just enough to lower your guard. They know how to remind you of past favors so that you feel obligated to return them. They understand human behavior, and they exploit it to gain control. And if you're not aware, if you don't pay attention, you'll find yourself agreeing to things you never wanted, giving away your time, your energy, even your resources, all because you felt pressured by the invisible strings they attached to you. Manipulators thrive in environments where people are too afraid to say no. They target those who are empathetic, those who want to avoid conflict, those who don't want to be perceived as rude. And if that's you, then you're the perfect prey for someone like them. The danger with manipulators is not just what they take from you, but how they make you feel in the process. They can leave you questioning your worth, doubting your instincts, and distrusting even the people who truly care about you. They isolate you without ever saying it directly. They will pit people against each other quietly, planting small seeds of doubt, creating little conflicts that distract you from noticing what they are really doing. And while you're busy defending yourself or trying to figure out what went wrong, they are already 3 steps ahead, gaining ground, securing control, and setting the stage for their next move. Think about how much energy you waste when you allow manipulators into your life. Every conversation feels like a game. Every interaction feels like you have to be on guard. Every relationship becomes one-sided where you're giving more than you receive. And yet, because they are so skilled at disguising their motives, you often don't realize what's happening until it's too late. You wake up one day and wonder how you got so entangled, how you lost your voice, how you ended up agreeing to things that compromise your own values. That's what manipulation does. It blinds you slowly, piece by piece, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The manipulator doesn't always come across as aggressive. Sometimes they appear as the victim to pull you in. They will tell you stories that stir your compassion, stories designed to make you feel like you need to rescue them. And once you do, they hook you with guilt. Other times they will appear as the hero, the one who helps you, the one who goes out of their way for you. But it's never free, it's never pure, it's an investment. They are keeping track of every favor, every sacrifice, every kind word, waiting for the day they can cash it in. And when they do, you'll find yourself trapped because you feel you owe them. That is not kindness. That is currency in the hands of someone who knows how to use it against you. What makes manipulators especially dangerous is that they don't always do it out of malice. Some manipulate because it's all they know. They've learned from experience that controlling others works better than honesty. that pulling strings gets them further than hard work. That deception secures more than integrity. But just because it's their pattern doesn't mean it's yours to tolerate. It is not your job to be their puppet, and it is not your responsibility to entertain their games. The moment you recognize a manipulator, you have one choice if you value your own freedom. You step back, you set boundaries, and you refuse to play. The only way to deal with manipulators is clarity and strength. You must know your values, you must trust your instincts, and you must be willing to walk away the second you feel those invisible strings being tied around you. Do not let them twist your perception. Do not let them guilt you. Do not let them use your compassion as a weapon against you. Because once you cut off their power, once you refuse to engage in their games, they lose control. And that is when you take your life, your time, your energy back into your own hands. The chronic complainer is one of the most draining types of people you will ever encounter. And yet they often disguise themselves as harmless. They show up in your life with constant negativity, endless problems, and a story about why the world is unfair to them. They don't just have bad days. Everyone has bad days. They have a bad outlook, a mindset rooted in victimhood, and it seeps into everything they touch. Their conversations are filled with complaints about work, about people, about circumstances, about luck, about life itself. And the worst part is not what they say, but what it does to you. Because when you spend enough time with a chronic complainer, their negativity starts rubbing off, their hopelessness starts becoming contagious, and you start carrying weight that isn't even yours. These people are dangerous not because they are evil, but because they are energy thieves. They take without asking, draining your enthusiasm, stealing your optimism, and leaving you tired, frustrated, and unmotivated after every interaction. Pay attention to how you feel when you leave a conversation with them. Do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel inspired or depleted? Do you feel like you gained perspective or like you lost time? That's the test. Chronic complainers don't come to solve problems, they come to unload them. They don't seek solutions, they seek sympathy. And once you offer it, they return with even more reasons why nothing can change. It's a cycle that never ends, because they don't actually want resolution. They want validation for staying exactly where they are. And here's the truth, if you tolerate complainers too long, they will pull you into their world. You'll find yourself listening to their constant grievances, and little by little, your own energy begins to align with theirs. You start complaining about your own life, not even realizing that you picked up their habit. You begin to normalize negativity. You begin to view challenges not as opportunities but as excuses. And slowly, the very mindset that keeps them stuck becomes your mindset too. That is why you must be ruthless in recognizing chronic complainers, because they will never stop on their own, they will never suddenly decide to shift into positivity, and they will never respect your time unless you demand it. The chronic complainer thrives on attention. Every complaint is a hook, and every time you listen without boundaries, you give them exactly what they want. They are not looking for advice. In fact, if you offer advice, they usually reject it immediately. Why? Because solving the problem would take away the thing they thrive on, the drama, the story, the excuse. They don't want a solution, they want an audience. And if you're not careful, you'll become that audience. You'll become the person they unload on day after day, year after year, while they remain in the exact same place, refusing to grow, refusing to take responsibility, refusing to do the work. Think about the cost of keeping complainers in your circle. They waste your time, they pollute your thoughts, and they drain your emotional energy. Instead of focusing on your goals, you end up focusing on their endless list of problems. Instead of building your strength, you end up absorbing their weakness. And over time, that adds up. It doesn't matter how strong you think you are. If you keep drinking poison drop by drop, eventually it will affect you. That's what complainers are, poison in small doses. You don't notice it at first, but one day you realize your ambition has weakened, your drive has dulled, and your energy has disappeared. And let's be honest, sometimes the chronic complainer hides inside our own family. Maybe it's a relative who always has drama, always has bad news, always blames everyone else for their situation. You might feel guilty for pulling away. You might feel obligated to listen because they're family. But ask yourself, what is the cost of that obligation? What does it cost you to keep giving your energy to someone who refuses to change? You cannot sacrifice your own mental health just to make room for someone else's endless negativity. You cannot carry people who refuse to walk on their own. At some point, you have to choose your peace over their complaints. Now understand this. Having compassion does not mean tolerating toxicity. You can care about someone and still refuse to be their dumping ground. You can love someone and still set boundaries that protect your energy. And with complainers, boundaries are everything. You don't argue with them. You don't try to convince them to see the bright side, because they're not interested. What you do is limit your time. You limit your engagement, and you refuse to play into their endless cycle of excuses. The most powerful thing you can say to a chronic complainer is not a solution, it's silence. Don't feed it, don't entertain it. Don't reward it with your attention. That's how you break their hold. The world is already heavy enough. Life is already filled with challenges. You don't need extra weight added by people who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. Surround yourself with people who lift you, who inspire you, who challenge you to grow, not people who drag you down into the pit of their own self-pity. Protect your mind like it is gold, because it is. Protect your energy like it is the most valuable resource, because it is. And protect your time like it is priceless, because it is. Complainers don't deserve unlimited access to any of those. The truth is, you cannot build a strong life on weak conversations. You cannot build a powerful future with people who are addicted to their own past failures. And you cannot grow if you are constantly surrounded by those who choose to stay small. That is why you must never tolerate chronic complainers. Not from strangers, not from friends, and not even from family. Because the cost is too high. And your life is too important to waste in the shadows of someone else's excuses. The user is one of the most dangerous types of people you can ever allow into your life, because their entire existence in your circle is transactional. They don't see you as a person, they see you as an opportunity, a stepping stone, a resource to be tapped. And when they've taken what they need, they will vanish without hesitation. Users don't come with warning labels. They often disguise themselves as friends, as supporters, as people who care, but their true motive always shows itself with time. The pattern is clear if you pay attention. They show up when they need something. They are available when they have a request, but they disappear when the tables turn and you're the one in need. That inconsistency is the red flag. Real people stand beside you in both good and bad. Users stand beside you only when it benefits them. The danger with users is that they are masters of disguise. They know how to play the role of loyalty long enough to gain your trust. They know how to say the right things to make you feel like they're genuine. And they know how to position themselves in your life so that you lower your guard. But once they get what they came for, once they drain you of your time, your energy, your resources, your connections, they suddenly shift. They vanish, they ignore, they pull back, and they prove with their actions that their loyalty was never to you. It was to their own self-interest. If you allow users to linger in your life, they will bleed you dry while convincing you they are adding value. You must understand that users operate from scarcity. They believe the only way they can move forward is by taking from others, by exploiting relationships, by leaning on people who give more than they take. They don't want to build, they want to borrow. They don't want to grind, they want a shortcut. They don't want to invest in themselves, they want to profit off someone else's effort. And here's the mistake many make, they confuse kindness with weakness. The user knows you are kind, so they keep taking. The user knows you don't like to say no, so they keep asking. The user knows you value relationships, so they manipulate that loyalty to their advantage. And if you do not draw the line, they will keep moving it until you are left drained, frustrated, and wondering how you gave so much and got so little in return. This is why self-awareness is critical. You have to monitor the balance in every relationship. Is there reciprocity? Is there mutual respect? Is there equal investment? Or are you always the one giving, always the one showing up, always the one solving, always the one sacrificing? Relationships that are one-sided are not relationships, they are transactions. And if you keep treating a transaction like a relationship, you will always be disappointed. You cannot keep pouring into people who are leaking buckets. You cannot keep fueling people who never put gas back into the tank. You cannot keep extending yourself for those who only extend their hands when they want something. And it gets worse when the user is someone close, because then it becomes emotional manipulation. Maybe it's a friend who only calls when they're in trouble, but is silent during your victories. Maybe it's a colleague who always needs help with their projects, but never shows up to support yours. Maybe it's a family member who constantly borrows money, but never repays or even acknowledges the sacrifice. In each scenario, the user is consistent in one way: they always benefit, you always pay. The emotional toll is even heavier because you start questioning yourself. Am I selfish if I say no? Am I cruel if I set boundaries? But the truth is the opposite. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are wise. You are not cruel for saying no. You are strong. You are not wrong for cutting off someone who only takes. You are right. Because every moment you spend with a user is a moment you steal from the people who actually deserve your time, your love, your energy. The key to handling users is clarity. You cannot change them. You cannot convince them to give back. You cannot inspire reciprocity in someone who has no intention of ever offering it. But you can recognize them quickly, and you can limit their access to you. You must stop rewarding their behavior with your compliance. When they ask for something unreasonable, you say no. When they only appear during their moments of need, you don't entertain it without balance. And when you realize that the relationship is built solely on what you provide, you let them go. This isn't about being harsh, this is about being fair to yourself. Because you cannot keep building your empire while someone else is quietly dismantling it behind the curtain. The hardest truth to accept is that some people only love you as much as they can use you. Some only value you as long as you serve them. And some only show loyalty until they find a better source. And if you don't recognize this truth, you will live your life stuck in a cycle of being used, drained, and discarded. But once you do recognize it, once you choose to surround yourself with those who bring equal value, equal loyalty, equal effort, your entire life changes. Your energy rises, your peace grows, your focus sharpens, and you finally realize that real relationships are never about taking, they are about mutual elevation. You must never tolerate users. Not because you don't care about people, but because you care about yourself enough to know that your energy, your resources, your time are not infinite. They must be invested in people who are worth it, not people who exploit it. If someone only shows up when they need you, then they don't deserve you. If someone only values what you give but not who you are, then they don't respect you. And if someone cannot stand beside you with the same strength you show them, then they're not your people. Never forget, your life is too valuable to waste being used by those who never intended to truly stand with you. The manipulator is perhaps one of the most dangerous individuals you will ever encounter, because they don't just take from you, they twist you into giving willingly. They don't always come with obvious demands. They come with persuasion, guilt, charm, and psychological tactics that make you feel as though serving their interest is your choice, when in truth it was never yours. They are masters of control, weaving words and emotions into weapons that make you question your instincts, doubt your judgment, and even compromise your values. And the worst part is that manipulation often feels subtle, like a whisper instead of a scream, like a gentle push instead of a shove, which is why so many don't recognize it until it's too late. The manipulator thrives on your empathy, your kindness, and your desire to keep the peace. They read you the way a hunter reads tracks, identifying your weak spots, your insecurities, your emotional triggers, and then pressing those points until you bend. Maybe they use guilt, reminding you of everything they've ever done for you, not as a gift but as leverage. Maybe they use flattery, building you up so that when they ask for something, you feel compelled to say yes. Maybe they use fear, threatening disapproval, withdrawal, or even rejection if you don't comply. In every scenario, the manipulator's goal is the same: to get what they want while convincing you that you are the one at fault for resisting. What makes manipulators so toxic is that they erode your sense of self. Over time, you begin to question your own reality, wondering if you're too harsh, too selfish, too cold, when in truth you are simply waking up to their game. They are skilled at flipping the script, painting themselves as the victim and you as the aggressor. The moment you push back, they make you feel guilty for not caring enough, for not being loyal enough, for not giving enough. It's not an accident, it's their strategy. Because if they can distort your perception long enough, you will continue to hand them the power they crave, while believing you're the one who needs to change. The manipulator does not respect boundaries. They test them. The moment you say no, they reframe it, twist it, pressure it until it breaks. The moment you set a limit, they turn it into a debate, an emotional tug of war where you exhaust yourself defending what should never have needed explanation in the first place. And if you do give in, even once, they log it as proof that your boundaries are negotiable, that your no doesn't mean no, that with enough pressure you will eventually surrender. That is why manipulators are relentless. They don't stop at the first sign of resistance. They thrive on persistence. And if you aren't steadfast, they will win. The truth is that manipulators don't just want your compliance. They want control. They feed on the power of bending others to their will. It validates them. It gives them a sense of superiority. It fuels their ego. And the more they succeed, the more emboldened they become. This is why people who tolerate manipulators often find themselves trapped in cycles of exploitation, constantly giving, constantly explaining, constantly compromising, while the manipulator grows stronger and more entitled with every victory. What begins as small concessions snowballs into full control of your time, your energy, and your decisions. And by the time you realize how much power you've handed over, it feels almost impossible to take it back. But you must take it back, because manipulation only works when you allow it. The manipulator cannot succeed without your participation, without your willingness to doubt yourself, without your fear of conflict, without your hesitation to enforce boundaries. The moment you stop playing the game, the manipulation loses its grip. That requires clarity. You have to train yourself to see through the tactics, to recognize guilt trips for what they are, to identify gaslighting when it happens, to call out false flattery, to resist pressure disguised as persuasion. Once you see the game, you cannot unsee it. And once you refuse to play, the manipulator has no power. The way you defeat manipulation is not through anger, not through yelling, not through matching their tactics, but through calm and unshakable firmness. You state your boundaries without explanation, you stand on your decisions without guilt, and you refuse to be drawn into endless debates designed to wear you down. The manipulator thrives on emotional reaction. They want you to defend, to argue, to prove, because that is how they twist your words against you. But when you stop feeding them reaction, when you respond with stillness and certainty, their entire strategy collapses. They cannot twist silence. They cannot manipulate immovable conviction. They cannot guilt you when you no longer carry guilt. Understand this. The manipulator will never change for your sake. They will only change if they lose access to you. As long as you remain available, as long as you remain pliable, as long as you continue to bend, they will continue to exploit. The strength lies in choosing distance, choosing boundaries, choosing yourself over their control. It doesn't matter if they are friends, colleagues, or family. Manipulation tolerated is respect forfeited. And once respect is gone, the relationship is no longer equal. It is a hierarchy with them on top and you beneath. That is not love. That is not loyalty. That is not connection. That is control. And control is not something you should ever allow someone else to own in your life. So the lesson is simple but not easy. The manipulator will always exist. You cannot change them, but you can outsmart them. You can see through their tactics, you can refuse their games, you can reclaim the power they seek to drain. And when you do, when you finally break free from their hold, you realize something powerful, that you were never weak, you were never incapable, you were never selfish for resisting. You were simply learning to master yourself in the face of someone who sought to control you. The negativity spreader is a silent killer of ambition, a poison that seeps into your mind without you even realizing how much damage it is doing. These are the people who never see possibility, never see hope, never see opportunity. Instead, they see every reason why something will not work, every flaw in your idea, every weakness in your plan, every obstacle that stands in your way. They live in a world of limitation and they want to drag you into that same darkness because misery does not like to be alone. Misery thrives on company, and the negativity spreader makes it their mission to recruit you into their army of defeat before you even take your first step forward. Negativity is contagious. One comment, one sneer, one dismissive remark can derail your confidence in an instant. Think about it. How many times have you been excited about something only to share it with someone who immediately shot it down with words like, "That's not realistic," or "People like us don't get those kinds of opportunities," or "You're setting yourself up for disappointment"? Those words linger, they echo, they burrow into your mind until you begin repeating them to yourself. And once you start believing them, the negativity spreader has done their job, because the greatest victory they can have over you is convincing you to sabotage yourself, The danger of negativity spreaders is not just their words, but the way they shift your energy. They drain you. Being around them feels heavy, like carrying a weight you didn't ask for. They have a way of turning every conversation into a complaint, every discussion into a list of problems, every possibility into a reminder of why it won't work. You walk away from them not inspired, not uplifted, but tired, deflated, and second-guessing yourself. And if you are not careful, you start adapting to their rhythm. You start mirroring their tone. You start carrying their hopelessness as if it belongs to you. Slowly but surely, their negativity becomes the lens through which you see the world. Understand this: people who spread negativity are not doing it by accident. Many of them are deeply invested in staying small, staying safe, staying inside the box life handed them. When they see you trying to rise, it threatens them. It shines a light on their own lack of action, their own wasted time, their own fears they refuse to face. So instead of supporting you, they try to pull you back to where they are. They do not want to lose you, because your growth means their stagnation becomes impossible to ignore. By dimming your light, they protect themselves from having to confront their own darkness. It is not about you, it is about their fear. But if you let their fear infect you, it becomes your fear too. The most dangerous thing about negativity is that it disguises itself as realism. They will tell you they are just being practical, just being logical, just being cautious. They will package their fear as wisdom, their doubt as advice. And if you are not discerning, you may mistake their limitations as truth. But realism does not mean surrendering before you try. Realism does not mean telling someone to shrink their dream. Realism means assessing risks and still moving forward with clarity and courage. The negativity spreader does not offer clarity, they offer excuses. And the moment you take their excuses as fact, you have given them control over your vision. You must understand that protecting your energy is not selfish, it is survival. If you want to do anything significant in this life, you cannot afford to keep company with those who constantly poison your spirit. It doesn't matter if they are family, friends, colleagues, or people you've known for years. If every interaction with them leaves you doubting yourself, if every word they speak plants seeds of fear in your mind, then you must create distance. Not because you hate them, not because you are better than them, but because you cannot afford to let their weight drag you down. Your mission requires strength, and strength cannot coexist with constant negativity. The solution is not to argue with them, not to try to convince them, not to prove them wrong. That wastes your energy. You don't owe them your explanations. You don't owe them your defense. You don't owe them your time. The solution is to guard your space, to limit access, to be intentional about who gets to influence your mind, because your environment shapes you more than you realize. Surround yourself with people who believe in possibility, who encourage growth, who challenge you to rise instead of shrink. The more you fill your space with positive energy, the easier it becomes to recognize and reject the poison of negativity. But here is the truth you must face. Sometimes the negativity spreader is not outside of you, it is inside of you. Sometimes the loudest voice telling you that you can't is your own, and that voice may not even be yours. It may be the echo of every negativity spreader you've ever listened to, every toxic word you've ever absorbed. If you don't silence that voice, it will live inside your head and sabotage you more effectively than any person could. So the work is twofold: eliminate negativity around you, and then eliminate it within you. Train your mind to reject self-sabotage, to reject doubt, to reject defeat. You do that by replacing those old words with new ones, by speaking power into yourself, by reminding yourself that you are capable, you are resilient, you are more than the limitations others tried to project onto you. Negativity spreaders win only if you give them access to your mind. Once you close that door, once you refuse to take in their poison, they lose their power. Their words bounce off, their energy doesn't penetrate, their fear doesn't infect you. And that is the key. You cannot stop them from being who they are, but you can stop them from dictating who you become. The choice is always yours, whether to carry their weight or to walk free from it. The question is whether you will protect your vision enough to guard it from those who want to see it die before it even breathes. The jealous underminer is one of the most dangerous people you will ever encounter, because they hide in plain sight. They can be the ones who smile in your face, who clap for you when you win, who pretend to cheer for your success. Yet behind that smile is a bitterness that eats at them every time they see you rising higher than them. They are not happy for you. They are not proud of you. They are threatened by you. And instead of confronting their own lack of effort, their own lack of courage, their own lack of vision, they choose the easier path to undermine you, to weaken you, to plant small seeds of doubt and insecurity in your mind so that you never rise beyond them. Jealousy is powerful because it rarely shows itself directly. Rarely will the jealous underminer openly say, "I resent your success." Instead, they will disguise their jealousy in subtle comments, small jokes, sarcastic remarks that sting just enough to make you question yourself. They may minimize your achievements by saying things like, "Wasn't that big of a deal? Anyone could have done that." Or, "You just got lucky." And each time they say it, their goal is not to celebrate you, but to shrink you, to make sure you never stand too tall, never shine too bright, never fully own the power of what you've built. They want to control you by keeping you unsure of yourself. Because if you stay unsure, you will never outgrow them. The danger of the jealous underminer is that they often come disguised as supporters. They may be family, friends, or colleagues who have been in your life for years. This is what makes their attacks so damaging, because they come from people you trust. A stranger's jealousy does not hurt nearly as much as the jealousy of someone you love, someone you confide in, someone you expect to be in your corner. That betrayal cuts deeper than anything else, and that is what makes you vulnerable. Because when jealousy comes from someone close to you, you are more likely to believe their words, more likely to give weight to their doubt, more likely to internalize their poison as truth. The jealous underminer operates like a shadow, always present but never direct. They rarely confront you outright, because they do not have the courage for open conflict. Instead, they chip away at you quietly, one comment at a time, one subtle action at a time. Maybe they withhold support when you need it. Maybe they fail to mention your contributions when credit is due. Maybe they deliberately highlight your mistakes while ignoring your victories. These small cuts may not seem like much in the moment, but over time they add up, and if you are not careful, you begin to bleed out confidence without even knowing where the wounds are coming from. Understand this: jealousy is not about you. It is about them. Your success, your growth, your progress shines a light on everything they are not doing. It forces them to face their own lack of discipline, their own missed chances, their own fear of stepping into the unknown. Instead of letting your success inspire them, they let it eat away at them. They resent you because you dared to do what they would not, you dared to chase what they were too afraid to pursue. And in their bitterness, they would rather see you fail than face their own reflection in your success. Their goal is not to destroy your dream directly, but to drain you of the belief that you deserve it in the first place. The jealous underminer will always try to make you feel guilty for succeeding. They may say things like, "You've changed," or "Don't forget where you came from," or "You think you're better than us now." These are not compliments, these are weapons. They are attempts to make you shrink so you don't stand out, to make you feel ashamed of your progress, to tether you to their level so they never have to lose sight of you. Do not fall for it. Progress will always change you because growth means you are not who you used to be. Evolution demands transformation, and anyone who tries to guilt you for evolving is trying to keep you caged. The way you deal with the jealous underminer is not by confronting them head-on, because confrontation often feeds their narrative. If you argue with them, they will twist your words. If you defend yourself, they will use your defense as proof that you are arrogant. The way to deal with them is with boundaries and distance. You do not owe them access to your energy, your vision, or your success. You owe yourself protection from their poison. Guard your achievements the way you would guard any treasure. Not everyone deserves to see what you are building. Not everyone deserves to hear your plans. Not everyone deserves to share in your victories. Sometimes the best defense is silence. Because silence starves the jealous of the reaction they crave. You must also strengthen yourself internally, because the jealous underminer's words only work if you doubt yourself. If you are secure in who you are, their comments bounce off you like stones hitting steel. But if you are still unsure, still fragile, still searching for validation, their words can cut deep. So the work begins with you, with building such unshakable confidence that no one's jealousy can touch you. Confidence is not arrogance, it is clarity. It is knowing who you are, what you bring, and where you are going. When you operate with that level of clarity, the jealous underminer can whisper all they want. but their whispers will never drown out your vision. Remember, jealousy is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their weakness. You cannot carry their insecurity, you cannot cure their envy, and you cannot stop them from feeling threatened. That is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to continue to rise, to continue to grow, to continue to shine no matter how much it makes them uncomfortable. Because the truth is, your success does not harm them. It only exposes what they refuse to do for themselves. And if they choose to live in bitterness rather than build their own path, that is their choice, not your burden. The chronic victim is one of the most exhausting and draining types of people you will ever allow into your life because they live in a permanent state of helplessness. They are always the ones who have a story about how life has been unfair, how the world is against them, how nothing ever works out for them, no matter how hard they try. But here is the truth. They are not trying, they are not fighting, they are not taking ownership of their lives. What they are doing is outsourcing responsibility, pushing blame on everyone and everything else so they never have to face the reality that they are the ones holding themselves back. And if you allow this kind of person to stay close to you, they will not only drain your energy, but they will also infect your mindset with their constant negativity. The chronic victim thrives on sympathy. They want you to feel sorry for them, to give them attention, to make them the center of emotional gravity in the room. They use pity as their fuel, and if you give them that pity, you are giving them exactly what they need to remain stuck. They do not want solutions. They do not want advice. They do not want to change. They want validation for staying exactly where they are. And if you try to encourage them to take action, they will give you excuses for why it cannot be done. If you try to show them another path, they will shut it down with a dozen reasons why it will never work. This is the game they play. They trap you in their cycle of helplessness so that you begin to carry their burden, while they sit back and wallow in their chosen misery. What makes the chronic victim so destructive is the way they slowly erode your drive. You may begin by wanting to help them, by offering advice, by giving them energy and encouragement. But the more time you spend with them, the more you realize it is never enough. Their problems never go away because they do not want them to go away. They hold on to their pain because it gives them identity. They are defined by their struggles, and if those struggles disappeared, they would have nothing left to cling to. So they keep finding reasons to stay small, to stay broken, to stay powerless. And in the process, they pull you down with them, making you feel guilty for rising while they remain stuck at the bottom. The chronic victim is dangerous because they disguise their weakness as vulnerability. They may cry, they may collapse, they may present themselves as fragile and delicate, and you may feel obligated to protect them. But you must understand there is a difference between someone going through a temporary season of pain and someone who has made victimhood their permanent way of life. Everyone struggles, everyone hurts, everyone falls, but not everyone stays down. The difference is choice. The chronic victim chooses to stay down, chooses to replay the same stories, chooses to resist growth. And once you see that truth clearly, you will realize that your compassion cannot save them if they are unwilling to save themselves. Being around a chronic victim is like carrying a weight you were never meant to carry. Their negativity becomes your soundtrack, their complaints become your environment, their hopelessness becomes your atmosphere. And the longer you stay in it, the more you begin to absorb it. You may start to feel drained, uninspired, heavy, even resentful without realizing it is their energy bleeding into yours. Energy is contagious, and if you spend too much time with someone who always plays the victim, you risk lowering your own frequency. You risk losing the edge that keeps you pushing forward. You risk slowing your own growth to accommodate their refusal to grow. The truth is, you cannot build a strong life surrounded by people who refuse to take responsibility. If you are serious about your goals, your growth, and your future, you need to surround yourself with people who are problem solvers, not problem clingers. People who take ownership of their circumstances and find a way forward. People who may struggle but never let struggle define them. People who use pain as fuel, not as identity. If you want to rise, you cannot carry someone who has tied themselves to the ground. You will both sink together, and you will lose yourself in the process. The chronic victim does not need a savior, they need a mirror, and if they refuse to look into it, that is not your fight. The way to deal with the chronic victim is with firm boundaries. Stop entertaining their endless complaints. Stop giving them attention for their excuses. Stop feeding their cycle with your energy. Do not allow yourself to be manipulated by guilt or obligation. Protect your energy as if it were your most valuable asset, because it is. Distance yourself if you must. Limit interaction if you cannot completely detach, but under no circumstances should you let their helplessness become your responsibility. Their life is their responsibility, and no matter how much they try to convince you otherwise, you are not the one who has to carry it. Remember, the chronic victim does not need your pity, they need your absence. Because your absence forces them to confront the truth that no one is coming to rescue them, that their excuses will not pay the bills, that their helplessness will not build the life they want. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful gift you can give them, because only then do they have a chance to wake up and realize that the only person who can change their life is them. But whether they wake up or not is not your burden. Your job is to protect your path, protect your energy, and protect your future from being drained by those who refuse to stand up on their own.